This will explain the final paper, your debate paper, which is due in week 12 by 11:59 on the Sunday. So this is a debate paper where you're going to be debating the affirmative and negative side of the question, is addiction a brain disease? So this is 30% of your final mark, and it's no more than 10 pages in length. At the 10-page mark, I will stop reading. You don't need to be writing any more than 10 pages. So like I said, this assignment will help you think about the two sides of the debate regarding addiction as a brain disease. So use this information, choose a side, and apply it to your own work on placement or future work in the field. So this is out of 100 marks. So your introduction will look at 5 marks. And if you see in your grading rubric, the introduction needs to explain the topic of the paper, describe the presenting issue, summarize what you'll be discussing in order, so looking at the affirmative side, the negative side, and your reflection piece. And this needs to explain exactly what's to come in the paper, so that way I know exactly what to look for. So in part A, you'll be taking the yes side. It is a brain disease. So this is 3 pages and we're 30 marks. So the first 15 marks, you'll be using 3 peer-reviewed articles to support this side of the argument. So peer-reviewed articles are from legitimate journals. They are from the Fleming website, the library website, and they have to be from a journal that, scientific journal that's evidence and research based. So I'm not looking for articles from a Google search, unless it's Google Scholar, but it's best to use the Fleming Library website. I don't want to see pop psychology websites. I want to see only peer-reviewed articles. So 3 of those are needed for this section. And once you've used those 3, I want you to provide 2 therapeutic options that would be appropriate to treat the addiction using the brain disease theory. So saying, yes, it is a brain disease, I want you to think about and use some of the evidence that you've come up with from the 3 peer-reviewed articles that would help support the idea that addiction is a brain disease, and 2 therapeutic options to help treat it from that perspective. And that's for 10 marks. And the final 5 in this section, you'll be looking for any other disorders or diagnoses that can co-occur with addictions that would support the theory that addiction is a brain disease. So that's worth 5 marks. So I want you to come up with some ideas and some evidence to support those ideas as to other disorders that would happen at the same time as an addiction if looked at it as a brain disease. And then part B, it's exactly the opposite. So you're looking at, no, it is not a brain disease. So there could be many options around what that might look like. It could be lack of willpower, could be a choice, could be many different things. But you're looking at it as, no, it's not a brain disease. And again, 3 pages for 30 marks, 3 peer-reviewed articles to support this side, at least 2 therapeutic options to treat addiction not viewed as a brain disease, and then any disorders or diagnoses that can co-occur with addiction that would support the theory that addiction is not a brain disease. Again, 5 marks. And if you look on the rubric, it's exactly outlined there. This is what I will be using to mark this paper. And if you miss sections, you miss marks. So I want you to make sure to follow along with the rubric as closely as possible so you're not missing out on any marks. Final section, section C, is a reflection piece. And this is worth 20 marks and it's 2 pages. So what I'd like you to do is reflect on the 2 sections that you've just written, so on part A and part B. So in using this information, which side would you choose when working with a client and why? So if you're currently on placement, or can think about it in a future when you are working with clients, what side would you use and why? And how would you show the client the theory you've chosen? So how would the client know that that is the perspective you're coming from? What types of therapeutic techniques, referrals, other professionals, medications, and assessments would you use or suggest based on the perspective you've taken, and why? Again, 5 marks. And how have you used this information in your placement, if you're on placement, or how can you see yourself using this information when working in the field in the future? So how can you apply it when working with clients, and how might it be helpful? And lastly, are there any parts of the opposite point of view? So if you chose the affirmative, I'd like you to talk about the negative. If you chose the negative, talk about the affirmative. What parts of the opposite view could you use in working with your clients, and why? So what aspects of the other side of the debate are useful, that you would find useful? And on your rubric, you're looking at all of those, that's 20 marks. So your reflection is about how you can apply the information you've searched and read about for both sides of the debate, and how it can be used in practice with clients. Finally, your conclusion is worth 5 marks. And in your conclusion, I want you to summarize the paper from the beginning to end in one short paragraph. It is important that you capture in your conclusion what you set out to prove or convey in your submission. So if you look back to your introduction, you're outlining the paper. In your conclusion, I want you to summarize the paper and include your reflection in the end of it as well, to sum up the whole paper. And that's worth 5 marks. 10 marks of this paper is your presentation. That includes spelling and grammar, neatness, so how it's set out, using APA format. So if you don't know what that is, please email me or speak to your fellow students, or do a Google search, and APA format will be online. So I want you to use APA format for this entire paper. This includes your reference page, in-text citations, your title page, and make sure it is APA style. And the font should always be Times New Roman 12-point font. That should be the entire paper from beginning to end, including the header. And if you don't know what that is, please, I would like you to email me or Google it. Google APA format and what a header is and what it should look like. The first page should be different than all the other pages. So that sums up 100 marks of this paper, with 30% of your final grade, and it's due week 12. So it would be best to start as soon as possible. If you have questions, feel free to email me at any time, and we can go over it. Either we can do a Skype conversation, or if it's a quick answer, I can email the answer back to you. Again, please start soon. This is a pretty big paper to finish the semester, and you still have your discussions and quizzes to go as well.